The following program does not have a normal intro because I was really too busy smoothing other things over to get it done. So, Rory?
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I'm your host, Joe Neerman, a.k.a. Good Logic. Hope your day has been going well. Things been going smoothly for you. Maybe you made a new connection today, socially, financially. Maybe you just sat back and chilled. Maybe you spent the day in great adventures. Whatever it was, I hope it worked out for you. Got a big show for you. And like Rock the Big One says, hit the like on the way in. Just hit it. Just hit the like. You should like, subscribe, hit like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Agreed. So I share with you important messages that people need to know. People need to learn. And that's why I'm starting today's show off with an invaluable lesson for every one of you. Things that you need, things that not enough people say. So, without further ado, I thought that this was an important message that you should take to heart. Yeah.
An accident.
Back.
Every driver's worst nightmare. But what if you could take it back?
Yeah, what if you could take it back? Everyone's worst nightmare is an accident. Imagine you could take it back.
Going 65 miles per hour, it takes 365 feet to bring your car to a complete stop.
365.
Driving just 5 miles per hour slower, you gain an additional 100 feet of stopping space. So what would you rather save? 30 seconds or a life? Oh my God! Oh my God, that's Hitler!
So there you go. Didn't see that one coming, did you? Didn't see that one coming. Oh, that is that dude was great. It's an important message. It's not the sort of messaging you can get just anywhere. No, it's important public service announcement. Okay. All right. Now that we got that out of the way, now that I'm 3 minutes into this show and you've already learned something. Hopefully you were taking notes. Hopefully. So hopefully you learned something. I want to share with you a video from earlier today, and they're calling this woman Subway Karen. And if your name is Karen, this is not about you. Don't make it about you. It's not about you, okay? It's just a word. It's just a word. It's the same way, like nail polish never asked to be called Polish. It's just Polish. It's nail polish. So does it say, oh, it's not fair? People make all those jokes about Polish people, and I'm nail polish. I'm scrubbing polish. No, it's just a word. It doesn't mean anything. Relax. It's a reference. All right. So let's check out the antics of Subway Karen. And I'm going to warn you, the audio on this is kind of not so great. But it's good enough. It's good enough for our purposes. So let's check it out here. Because this is the beginning of our story. It's a video. And it's hard to really figure out exactly what's happening. I'm not going to kid you. I'm confused by Subway Karen. Confused by her. But that's her. That's our star right there. Subway Karen herself.
No, Breathe. Breathe. Breathe.
Not a good position for her.
Breathe. Do not do this. Breathe. Do not do this. Breathe. Do not do this. You're gonna get arrested.
I can handle my own.
Breathe.
23.
Breathe. Please stop this. Please stop this, or I'm.
This is not a subway. This, I can tell you, I recognize this train. This is New Jersey Transit. So, in fact, the origin of this hat, me wearing this hat as part of my branding for the show, came on a train that looked just like this one.
I'm never going to talk to you again. Stop this, or I'm never going to talk to you again. Listen to me right now. Go sit down right now. I'm never going to talk to you again. Listen to me right now. He's not doing anything. He's not doing anything. Listen to me right now. No, he's not. He's not. He's listening.
It's not nail Polish. It's nail Polish. Aw, you're really too kind. Thank you, Sesrin. I appreciate it. Or Sesrin's fan club. So you're not really Sesrin, but we'll call you Sesrin anyway. Thank you.
He's not. Listen. He's not. He was not.
So it's really hard to tell what the heck they're arguing about, what they're screaming about. Well, we hear this guy who seems to know Subway Karen starts threatening her, saying, knock it off.
Stop that. Listen to me right now.
Here he threatens her.
Do not do this. He didn't say anything. He did not say anything. He's having a personal conversation with his buddies. He did not say anything. Please listen to me.
So it seems like she overheard something and she thought it was about her or whatever and got all offended. Maybe it was about her. I don't know. But she's not having it. And her man is trying to calm her down. By the way, they say that women as a group are emotionally more intelligent than men. I don't think this is a great display of that.
Stop it right now. Do not say that. Do not say that.
And this goes on and on.
So I'm an immigrant. I'm an immigrant too. You know that, right?
I'm an immigrant. So apparently she said something about immigrants. And her man says, I'm an immigrant too. You know that, right? Did I forget locals chat? Oh my God, I'm so terrible. I actually meant to hit start chat. I apologize. Remedied. I apologize for that. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. I really appreciate that. It's remedied already, just now.
Right now. Let me know what you got. No, hit me with a right now. Let me know what you got.
God, imagine coming home to this woman.
Pretend it's his face. Pretend it's his face. Oh!
What's that?
Oh!
It was a half-hearted slap.
How about you get the out of our country?
Do not.
How about you get out of our country? Oh, this is an interesting thing.
I'll get off to the next topic.
So the next stop, Penn Station, she's probably coming in from Secaucus. Not necessarily, but yeah, it is the last stop, Penn Station, when you're coming from Jersey Transit. Well, there you go. Okay. So she looks all bothered and all troubled, and this is just the beginning of her troubles, because as a result of this, as Brian Krasenstein reports, that's Brianna Pinnock's. Brianna Pinnock's, the internet calling Train Karen. Sorry, not Subway Karen, Train Karen. I kept saying Subway Karen. It's Train Karen. She's been fired from her job for this clip. You're welcome. Look, someone's got to do it. Joan Crawford, mommy dearest. Yeah. Penix, who appears to be intoxicated on a New Jersey train, started to berate a German tourist who she thought was talking about her. Let's not let immigrants take up our country. How about you get the F out of our country at a group of tourists, she shouted. Her patient boyfriend chimes in, stop this or I'm never going to talk to you again. You know I'm an immigrant. I'm an immigrant too. You know that, right? Capital RX, the company she worked for, has terminated her work, saying the following. Quote, our company has a zero-tolerance policy around prejudicial discriminatory behavior. After conducting a review of the circumstances, we acted immediately and terminated the employee in question. What? The former employee's actions are words are not representative of Capital RX, and we offer our sincerest apology to those who were hurt. I don't think anyone was hurt. Clearly, she was over the line. Clearly, she said some pretty horrible things to tourists. Do you agree with her firing? So that's my question for you, my dear audience. Do you agree with this woman being fired? Why or why not? Why or why not? And is this situation not analogous to Colin Kaepernick? Colin Kaepernick famously fired for taking conduct that was not representative of the San Francisco 49ers, in that he kneeled for the flag. Which situation do you think is worse? Actually, I should phrase it this way. Which firing, if either, do you think is more justified, and why? Now, so I'm saying she's not at work, so that makes it a little different. Kaepernick did it at work. T Advice says, I wouldn't hire any woman. Cap was at work. Okay. So you think if she was at... And by the way, I should point this out before I get into the analogy to Colin Kaepernick. I want to point this out. The dude had one successful season, but he had a lot of losses under his belt. Like a lot of losses under his belt. So he was not exactly a winner. He had some good games. I'm not going to kid you. He had a couple of really good games. And he had a bunch of clunkers. And it's not like he was like, he was not Tom Brady of the Niners. He was no Joe Montana. But a lot of you saying Kaepernick is justified. You say make her take a bunch of classes about it and report back to the public. I don't know how she's supposed to report back to the public. A company, I guess, can make a statement. It's not like individuals. Very small percentage of individuals have any sort of platform that the public is going to be aware if she makes a statement. But I guess the company could. You're saying she makes the company she works for look bad, which is why I think it's analogous to Kaepernick, right? I mean, Kaepernick kneeling for the flag made the 49ers look bad in the eyes of many of its fans. Make her sit down and read 12 Rules for Life. I don't know. Fans paid $1.99 for chat to start. I'm glad that worked. I feel terrible I forgot that. I'll worry about that. And for me, really, first of all, that's definitely true. If he was 14, I don't understand why this woman is being punished for what she does on her downtime. I don't even understand it. I'll tell you this much. First and foremost, I was shocked that she's punished for being racist against white folks. Okay? That's where to me, that was the breaking part of the story. Someone racist against white folks gets punished. Let's put a pin on that. I'll come back to that. And I definitely want to come back to that. It's important to come back to that. We're going to put a pin on that. Okay? Just put it over here on the side, okay? And just talk about the comps to Kaepernick. So I don't know what the hell Capital RX is. I don't know what they do. I don't really care what they do. It's hard to imagine that she is the face of the company and she's not at work. She's not. It's not like she did this screaming at them at her job. What? Just because this is what's so stupid about this, in my opinion. This is what makes it ridiculous. Because if she's not filmed, she does the exact same thing and no one films it. Her boss never finds out about it. If they do, they certainly won't fire her. Zero chance she gets fired. So it's only because it gets filmed and the filming goes sufficiently viral that she gets into any sort of trouble. And for what? I mean, she's obviously somewhat inebriated. She's not doing anything illegal. And she's not at work. No one there is sitting there thinking, no one on the Jersey Trans there is sitting there thinking, I can't believe this Capital RX employee is talking like this. Nobody. Zero people. Zero people who may have been offended by her is like, bad look for Capital RX. Bad look for Capital RX. Humiliating. I don't know how they're going to recover from this. Their stock price is going to tank. I don't know what's going to happen to them. Poor company. They have to take action here. Otherwise, oh my God, people are just going to be tarnishing them. And every one of those things are things people could and did say about the 49ers. Like, oh my God, I can't believe the 49ers have a guy who does not respect our country leading their team. That's what people said. People were like booing and angry and turning that venom toward the 49ers. There are zero people who saw this and thought to themselves, oh my God, Capital RX, how do you let her work there? And she wasn't, you're correct, Mary. She was not any type of uniform representing company. She's some plain clothes on personal time doing nothing. Like, I mean, okay, fine. Maybe she's vile. Maybe she's vulgar. But it's like anytime someone's in public now, because everyone has access to phones, so someone could be at risk for losing their job unless they keep themselves under control at all times. If they express themselves on their own time in ways you don't like, in that case, you're going to basically say now they should be fired. That's insanity. That's crazy. Who wants to live in a world like that where you're constantly being judged, scrutinized at the peril of losing your livelihood and being blackmarked forever? Because anywhere she goes, Capital RX, they're going to call in. Oh, they're going to hire that racist? Oh my God. And once you get tarred with racist, that the woman presumably works in New York. You just throw the R word out about someone in New York, they're done. Forget it. Just pack it up, leave. Go to the Midwest. You're done. You're not making a living in New York City. If everywhere you go, people assume that you're a racist, it's just not going to happen. It's terrible. Oh my gosh, awful. So here I am standing up for the train Karen and saying they've done her dirty. It's wrong. This is not the way our society should be functioning. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. It makes no sense. It's such a terrible society we're building where people are supposed to feel. It has a chilling effect where it's like you're supposed to feel that I'm constantly being scrutinized. Anyone could film me at any time. And if it gets, and film little segments of it. And if it gets taken out of context, or so they say reflect something bad, or I say the wrong thing, boom, my entire career is shot. Everything I spent the last decade, 15, 20 years working for, down the tubes. It's like, what the hell? What kind of dystopian society thinks that that's a good thing? Bunch of judgmental jerks. Oh my gosh. Do I think she's a jerk? 100%. Do I think that every person still working at Capital RX is probably a similar type of level jerk? Good chance that most of them are. They just haven't been filmed then and have it go viral. And maybe it's not in that type of vein, it's a different type of vein. But it's like it's like now we can pass whatever sort of judgment we want because the internet has spoken and says that you do not deserve a career anymore. It's terrible. It's awful. It's awful. This is so wrong. And I'll tell you this, it's not really, I was thinking about bringing up the First Amendment angle. It is, but, society can punish you even though the government can't. So that's why I wouldn't really refer to this as being a First Amendment thing. But conceptually, when you look at the premise as to why we have a First Amendment, you're correct. Meaning, the reason we have a First Amendment is that people should be free, certainly on their own time, to do and say whatever they want. But the way it's manifested in the language of the First Amendment doesn't really cover this particular topic, which is why I didn't want to glom that in there. But you're right, as far as the principles behind the First Amendment, that we should be able to be free without fear of repercussion because we're expressing ourselves. Well, anyway, so that's my thought on it. Completely contrasted from Colin Kaepernick. 100% contrasted. Who's doing it at work as the face, wearing the uniform as the face of the organization, over and over again, and basically becoming a massive distraction for the team. All of a sudden introducing politics into sports, which thank you for messing that baby up. Whoever thought of politics is going to come into sports? But Colin Kaepernick has to come along and say, no, this is something we got to talk about. There are some things that are more important than football. Yeah, you know what? There are a lot of things that are more important than football. And still, the purity of the sport, the purity is that we can actually get away from the headaches of society and completely immerse ourselves in something that has nothing to do with what's troubling the world today. So thank you very much for keeping your stinking politics out of it. And I don't care if your politics are left or right. I just want to watch a football game without thinking about which people, how many millions of people in this country I think are probably some level of d-bagginess. It's like that. No, you have to make this, and that's why I say it's not making it about the cause. It's not or some cause, whatever the cause is. But making it about some cause, it's making it about yourself, because you have to do your thing. And selfishness is not something that works well in team sports. Go do that as a tennis player, okay? That does not work well in team sports, and it is selfish. It's completely selfish. Anyway, so that's my thoughts on Train Karen. Just wanted to give that to you. But I put a pin on something earlier, which is the last element to this story that I just want to discuss with you. And something that I doubt you've heard from anyone else, or doubt you thought about it. What was the nature of the racism that she expressed? She was being racist to people who are not American. The Germans, right? And that's what she was doing. This is not sort of racism, which, assuming that we call the Germanic peoples a race, which is kind of a ridiculous thing. It's really what she was basically doing was somewhat nationalistic. Meaning, like, our country is for us, your country is for you. Is it gross? Yes. Is it childish? Yes. Is it stupid? Yes. Does it show that her mind is drifting with very shallow waters? Yes. Is she the type of person who I think is a model for society? Absolutely no. Would I want to be talking to her at a party? No. Would I ever want to be engaging this woman in any capacity whatsoever? Absolutely not. That being said, I think it's really interesting that we now basically are hating and protecting anybody who is not American. You know how, like, you've been probably thinking to yourself that, and a lot of people have been talking about over the last really 2 to 3 years, how white males are like a hated class. Well, ever since I was a child, Americans across the globe have always been sneered down upon by Europeans as being some sort of inferior breed of human. Usually uneducated and boorish and unenlightened or whatever. But that's abroad. Because the point I want to make to you is, if she was a German or some other ethnicity yelling at this person for being an American, she would not be fired today. But we Americans have developed, or many Americans have developed, not we, I don't mean myself or you likely watching this show. Many Americans have developed a self-hatred of our country and ourselves. And that's why this woman was fired. That's why this woman was removed from her job, because she's basically expressing that Americans have a certain type of superiority. But if she was, Albanian, and she would sit there screaming, "You stupid American," she would not be fired. If she was screaming, an Albanian screaming at a Greek person, saying, "You stinking Greek person," she would not be fired. It's only because she cloaked herself in old glory and basically professed or implied that her American heritage is what gives her some level of superiority. That is why she was fired. And think about that for a second. Think about that fact that we have such a deep self-loathing that is now become not just acceptable or tolerable, but embraced as being natural and normal. That if someone basks in their American superiority, real or imagined, but basks in that is not something we can stand for. That is racist. That is evil. That is terrible. That is awful. That has to be fired, removed from society. Don't give her a job. Label her a racist. Call her a terrible thing. Why? Because in the most moronic fashion possible, she expressed and implied that she had superiority because she's a native-born American. But if she said the exact same thing about herself from being from any other country on the planet, literally any other, maybe even if she said, if she was Russian, and she started mocking this person, someone else, for being American compared to being Russian, no firing, no nothing. We can be sure of it. I'm positive. It's pretty weird. It's pretty sad. It's a pretty sad state of affairs. You probably didn't think about it. You probably didn't even. I haven't seen anyone else discuss that element to this whole thing. But it is a self-hatred of ourselves as Americans, which has basically become the culture of our society. That, of course, this is bad because you're basically implying that Americans are better. Natural-born Americans have some level of superiority. Whereas anyone else, it would have been like, no, they're just proud of their heritage. That's how it would have been chalked up. They're just proud of their heritage. It's terrible. It's a terrible when you really break down what's happening here. It's a terrible reflection of what our society has become, that our culture has made so many Americans so resentful to the greatest country on the planet. It's terrible. So that's what I wanted to stand up for her. Mary says, plus she wasn't. Oh, I covered this already. Very good. All right. So there you go. I just wanted to share that thought and stand up for actually. I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to close this topic with this thought. You should be stinking proud of your American heritage. Not just stinking proud, but you should be vocally proud of it. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Quite the contrary. Quite the exact opposite. But the legacies that have been handed down to us by the founding fathers and those who formed this country, and the fact that you happen to be blessed to be born into this country, is that a privilege? Hell yes. Yes. And I think that could be part of it, is that people recognize as an American privilege, and they sort of feel ashamed of that privilege. And I think that's part of the reason this has become tolerable, to be self-hating about your American privilege. Not just tolerable, fashionable, honorable to be self-hating about your American privilege. No, that is cuck, loser, stupid talk. You should be proud of the fact that you have American heritage. You should be very proud of it. Because it means basically that your fealty to our nation is fealty to a country which has basically the genesis of enlightened understanding of how societies should function. That's your heritage. As to what basic human rights are, as to what basic civil rights are, as far as the rights, as far as the needs of recognizing the individual and that individual's place in society. These are very, very critically important concepts that our founding fathers derived and then codified in ways that became the model of the world and led our country into growing into becoming the dominant force on the globe. That's something to be very, very proud of. So never take it for granted. Never apologize for it. You should thank God for your American privilege, but you should not feel remotely guilty for it. And those who would have you assess self-blame for it, you can tell them to go shove off or fly off to whatever other country they think would make them happier. These people make me sick. Pam! Been watching tens of thousands of illegal immigrants coming across the border carrying their flags. We have to stand united. Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Now it's like if you wave an American flag, that's like, you're a racist. Thank you, Kelly. Land of the free so long as you do as you're told. Apparently, according to Capital RX, say you're native-born South African, well, white. Let me see what's happening here. Make sure I'm good. And Doug, are you keeping everyone in line? You're keeping everyone in line, and Doug. All right. So now I'm done with that story. So I want to cover something else with you. This is an article that was brought in the Washington Post, and as I get into the most hated man in DC, the most hated person in DC, I was very proud of the poll I put up in my community. Let me see how it's going. This was my poll. This is pretty clever. I was pretty proud of it, if I say so myself. And I have. You were here when I said it. So, as I talk about the most hated man in DC, which I am referencing Matt Gaetz, I created this poll. DC's biggest villain. Trump, Gaetz, Dan Snyder, or an honest reporter. Those are 4 great choices. Great choices. And I knew Gaetz was going to come in last. I knew that was going to happen. I was pretty proud of this one. Like, after I started with Trump and Gaetz, I was like, Who else would be hated in DC? This is like what I was like. And then I came with Dan Snyder. I was like, oh, that's a good call. Those of you who don't know, Dan Snyder is the owner of the Redskins. He's not popular at all, like anywhere. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh my God, what did I just say? I just said like a 4-letter word starting with red and ending in skins. Oh my God. I hope I didn't cause any calamity for any Indians. Oh my God, what did I just say? Not Indians, Native Americans. Oh my God, what did I just say? I didn't even realize I said it. Yeah. Hey, if you're sitting at home and you're an Indian, and you felt offended by anything that I just said, I can give you a number for counseling so that you can recover from hearing the term Redskins. I don't even think it's offensive to the Indians. Thank you very much. Please call again. I don't get it. Oh. Have you tried turning a dolphin on again? I don't know why I don't even understand why Indians would be offended by that. Where am I at? Let me get to my story here. Where we at? There we go. Washington Post. You know, I had to subscribe to the Washington Post to cover this story. And I was very torn about it. I don't like giving money to these purveyors of sickness. I feel like I just paid to help spread a disease when I subscribed to the Washington Post. But Robert Gouveia convinced me. He's like, it's a business expense, and B, if you buy it and share the important stories that they cover, sometimes they do cover newsworthy topics. When you're sharing it, you're stopping other people from having to buy it themselves. So that's a fair point. Just Joy. Thank you for dropping the 20 on me. I watched your locals vid yesterday. Thank you for being so open. October 9th is a sad day for me, and with that coming, your story really hit home. God works in beautiful ways. You helped me get through a bad day. Thanks, Joe. Well, thank you. I mean, I'm glad I was able to help you. The last 2 days, I've been doing streams on Locals, which is at goodlogic.locals.com. Goodlogic.locals.com. So today, I was reviewing a movie called His Only Son, and telling you what parts of the story of the binding of Isaac with Abraham, and covering which parts they got right and which parts they got wrong. I finished like half the movie. I'm going to finish the rest of it next week. Yesterday, I spent an hour talking about the details of the day that my mother died. Tonight is the anniversary of her passing. So I spent an hour giving a detailed assessment of what that day was like, and tried to give context you can understand, because it was on the cusp of the start of a Jewish holiday and the implications that had on burying her and all the other emotions and things that went through it, which I really gave a very detailed account of that day 9 years ago. So, and I left that open even for non-subscribers, because I was like, you know what, maybe this story will help people. So, and if it helped just one person like you, Just Joy, totally worth it. Totally worth it. What kind of Indians, dot or feather? And I know that is offensive. Why do people assume that when it says Redskins, it's talking about feather Indians instead of dot Indians? I don't understand this. I don't understand. Should have put Corinne Jean-Pierre in the poll. No, she's not hated. She's loved in Washington. Who's hated in Washington? See, that's why I said hated in D.C. Not people who are in D.C. who are hated. by the world, but least popular person amongst DC folks. So if you hate someone, that would not count in the poll, unless you live in DC. But I really meant like who on Capitol Hill is who's most hated by Congress and the media and stuff of that nature. That's what I really meant. So, yeah, I guess I can understand how you read it that way, Mary, because I was pretty vague in the way I worded it. All right, so let's talk about why Republicans are sick of Matt Gaetz and they're not quiet about it. Okay, let's check this out. Representative Matt Gaetz stood in an unfamiliar spot Tuesday as he pressed his case to boot Representative Kevin McCarthy from a role of House Speaker, the Democratic side of the chamber, meaning they didn't allow him to stand on the Republican side of the House. They sit Republicans on this side and the Democrats on that side, and they didn't let him stand in front of the Republican area. By the time Gaetz finally made good on his long-standing threats to have a vote to topple McCarthy, his Republican colleagues were so fed up with him that they wouldn't let him debate from within their caucus, banishing him to the minority Democratic side of the room, which is so childish. You can't sit with us. Gaetz' successful fight to remove McCarthy from the speakership has cost him his own conference, lawmakers say. The GOP on Tuesday was considering expelling Gaetz from its caucus, saying, "You're not Republican anymore." McCarthy, meanwhile, told Republicans he would not seek re-election as speaker after Gaetz pushed him out. "You made us lose McCarthy. We don't have McCarthy anymore. We're so mad at you." Quote, "I'd love to have him out of the conference," Representative Don Bacon from Nebraska told reporters Tuesday. "He shouldn't be in the Republican Party." Representative Michael Lawler told reporters Wednesday that he thought Gaetz should be expelled from the party's conference, but they had not taken any actions to begin that process. Representative Garrett Graves said repercussions for Gaetz would be pursued in the conference. Within a House GOP that has in recent years devoured its own, ostracizing members who have spoken out against former President Donald Trump and the January 6, 2021 attack on the Capitol, so far only Gaetz seems to be at risk of formal dismissal. Think about that for a second. They hate him more than they hated Liz Cheney. They hate him more than they hated Adam Kinzinger, because they're talking about removing him, and there was never even talk about removing them, or removing Gaetz, while there was never any talk about removing Cheney or Kinzinger. Asked whether he was afraid of being exiled, Gaetz responded with the same brashness he brought to the House floor during the debate over McCarthy. "If they want to expel me, let me know when they have the votes," he said Tuesday evening. That's a quote directly from McCarthy when he said if they want to remove me as speaker. The GOP disdain for Gaetz, aside from the handful of hard-right Republicans who joined his motion to vacate the speakership, was clear all day Tuesday. Quote, "You all know Matt Gaetz," McCarthy told reporters after he was ousted. "You know it was personal." This is not personal. No one cares. This is it's such a misdirection here. It is such an utter misdirection as to what's happening here. Just keep your stinking promise. Graves assailed the Floridian on the House floor for soliciting campaign donations on the back of his motion to vacate the speakership. Quote, "It's what's disgusting about Washington," he said. "That's not governing," McCarthy added. "That's not becoming of a member of Congress. It was all about his ethics, but that's all right." What the heck are you talking about? It's not about Gaetz's ethics. They tried making it about Gaetz's ethics because Gaetz was saying, "Hey, I'm fighting a lot of people. If you care about this fight, maybe you should donate here." Which just basically means that he has a chance of surviving in Washington. Sometimes you have to do a little self-promotion if you're going to survive. That's reality. And trying to make it as if like that's why he brought this entire motion is insane, because he knowingly walked into the lion's den and made himself the most hated person in the room, because all Democrats hate him already, and now he has basically 200 Republicans who hate him as well. Representative Mike Garcia referred to Gaetz as a Republican running with scissors, and Representative Derek Van Orden, seething on the House steps after the vote, said, quote, "I will always put the best interests of the United States of America and my constituents above my own personal feelings, and clearly Matt Gaetz can't do that." What are you talking about? You see, I'll tell you what they're talking about. They hate Matt Gaetz because they want to have McCarthy because McCarthy brings in the donors. It's not because they care about their constituents. I mean, who really believes that Derek Van Orden, whoever the heck this dude from Wisconsin is, that this guy, oh yeah, he's all about his constituents, not about his own power. Whenever they're fighting for their own power, they twist that into being, I'm fighting for you. I can't explain to you how I'm fighting for you. I can't explain it to you. Because how is standing up for McCarthy standing up for you? Explain this. Walk me through this, because I'm a little dense. I'm a little slow. Walk me through how I need to have McCarthy as the Speaker of the House specifically. How does that benefit me personally? How does that benefit you personally? Apparently, that's harming America if we don't have McCarthy sitting in the Speaker's chair. And I don't understand why. The only people who understand this is 200 Republicans whose coffers he lines by lining up donors. They're the only ones who understand it. But you and me, we don't understand why McCarthy is so uniquely terrific that when he breaks his promise about how he's going to run the House, that we should just say, oh, who cares? Only 200 Republicans can tell you that. These slimy snakes, it's like a pit of snakes. And I'm not even talking about the Democrats. A pit of snakes. These vipers. Gaetz was McCarthy's main obstacle to the speakership in January, leading a band of rebels who refused to vote for the longtime GOP minority leader for the first 13 rounds of roll calls. In the 14th round, Gaetz softened his stance, but only slightly. He voted present. Not a vote against McCarthy, but also not in favor, and not enough to hand him the Speaker's gavel. McCarthy approached Gaetz on the floor, then walked away, appearing dejected. Meanwhile, Representative Mike D. Rogers stormed over and lunged at Gaetz before being restrained by Representative Rich Hudson. The Floridians sat unperturbed. I have to tell you, they say it's making it all about himself. This is bravery, because he's standing up to 200 people on the most public stage imaginable. Like, why you're all so proud of yourselves that you're going after him. That's what I'm saying. The biggest blessing in the world is that we never got that red wave in November 2022. Biggest blessing in the world, because it would just be business as usual in Washington if we did. McCarthy was elected Speaker after midnight in the 15th round of voting when Gaetz and other right-wing hardliners voted present, lowering the threshold McCarthy needed to win office. But by then, McCarthy had struck deals with those hardliners that hemmed him in. The most noteworthy concession: a single member could bring a motion to vacate the chair, which we're gonna acronym motion to vacate, meaning the chair of speakership, meaning remove the speaker. I'm gonna acronym that motion to vacate as MTV. So I want my MTV. I want my MTV. The most noteworthy a single member could bring a motion to vacate the chair or call for a vote to remove the speaker. Gaetz threatened to wield that power for months, then made clear on September 12th that he would seek to depose McCarthy when he said the speaker was, quote, out of compliance with the deal he struck in January. Let me cover a couple of these that have come in that I haven't. And that's exactly my point, Matt Skinner. He made a promise that he didn't follow through with. Eric says, and you guys should check out Layback News tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to be there. I might pop in like near the end, but I'm supposed to be hosting a memorial brunch for my mom tomorrow. This is a result of professional politician that has all gone to hell since. Amen. Spot on. Kimmy's saying they aren't even snakes, they're parasites. It's true. Yeah, you know what? That's probably a better term. I'm just picturing that floor in Indiana Jones. Why does the floor seem to move? JS CH Wallback. P.S. You didn't ask Pisco if he believed TDS should be covered by Medicare. I believe he would have taken an advantage of it. Get Garrett Ziegler, Marco Polo on this show. Garrett Ziegler? My name rings a bell. I'll make a note. Is that? That's not quarterback Garrett, is it? Marco Polo. Oh, I know what this is. Marco Polo. Yeah, I'm going to see if I could do that. I'm actually in talks with someone else who I want to get on this show. It's a guy who was the Yale student who's now in court suing Yale because he's removed on some empty charges that he had attacked a woman. So I'm actually in private conversations. I'm probably going to talk to him tomorrow about what day next week will work for him to come on. I'm really looking forward to sitting down with him. I always welcome suggestions for who I should try to get on the show. I can try to get them on. You never know who's going to be amenable, who won't be though. Gaetz demanded McCarthy rectify those supposed breaches by instituting steep budget cuts during the September fight to fund the government and abandoning a spending deal McCarthy had made with President Biden in June. The president and speaker agreed to suspend the debt limit in exchange for limiting growth in federal discretionary spending. Conservatives quickly soured on that arrangement, which drew large numbers of Democratic votes on its passage. Gaetz threatened to invoke the motion to vacate if McCarthy did not back away from that deal and instead pass 12 appropriations bills with draconian spending cuts. Draconian, this is how the Washington Post calls it, draconian spending cuts. You don't know what spending cuts would come. Nobody knows what spending cuts would come. We simply know that they wanted to lower $2.2 trillion all the way down from $2.2 trillion all the way, way down to $2.1 trillion. These draconian, crazy cuts. That is what the Washington is making sure that the democracy will die in whatever darkness they can spread. These crazy cuts, these draconian cuts. These crazy people. They're insane. There's something wrong with it. I think there's something really wrong with these folks. And if McCarthy made an end run around Gaetz and relied on Democratic votes to keep the government open, Gaetz would invoke the motion too. Yeah, you know what? McCarthy made an end run to the Democrats, and Gaetz responded by making an end run to the Democrats. That's right. That's what happened. He decided, I'm going to cave to the Democrats so that they will come along and vote with me, which is why Gaetz went to the Democrats and said, hey, let's remove this Republican speaker, knowing good chance they were going to come along and vote with him. That's what happens because the Democrats have basically become a tool. That's what they are. They are a tool. And if you know how to use the tool, you can get results. Schwalbach, Reed Rumble. Sorry, I apologize, my friend. Oh, my God. My apologies. I was wondering what you were saying, P.S. I was like, I definitely missed something. I don't know what I missed. So wait, let me make Schwalbach. J.H. Schwalbach. Schwalbach. All right. Schwalbach. You're killing. Please get Garrett Ziegler, Marco Polo Project. He was on Viva Friday. This guy would have destroyed Pisco. You were weak on facts, which Viva... Watch the Viva interview, please. I don't think I was weak on any of the facts, but I appreciate you saying I'm killing. And I will happily get Garrett Ziegler on. I'll happily get him on. I don't know which facts I was weak on, but I will check it out now. Now you got me all bothered. I'm even going to apologize and give you another one of these. All right. As a Gaetz voter, you're welcome. He represents us well. If the runners try to boot him, then we'll bring him right back. We love Mad Lamat. Yeah, no, I think he would win as an independent at this point. I think he totally would win as an independent. It'll be their loss if they get rid of him. over the weekend. In fact, I'll tell you something that's actually pretty cool about Matt Gaetz' situation. If he was removed as a Republican, he would become a martyr. He could literally make a brand new party and probably get elected in his district, and that he could like be known as like the father of this new party, some America First party type of thing, Freedom Caucus party. Yeah. So, and a part of me is really hoping that they try to take this drastic step, because this will be the uniparty slicing themselves, like slashing at themselves to try to punish themselves. That's what I think may happen here if they get rid of Matt Gaetz. I would love to see the Republicans do it. Love it. And I'll tell you something, they likely could. There's enough hatred of this guy right now, enough hatred that they likely could. And I feel pretty confident that Matt Gaetz already has garnered enough positive PR for himself. Pretty confident that he literally could start his own party and win win election. This is a third party candidate. I don't want him to be independent. I wouldn't want him to run under the independent party tag. I would want him to start his own new party. Be the godfather of like the MAGA party. That's how you get it. That's how you grow it. Steven Crowder had Dr. Epstein on today explaining how Google and other tech platforms affect elections. It's a must-see. So I saw a clip on this. Thank you, Jay Liebgott, for sharing this with me. I saw a clip of this, and I plan to check it out, but I have not gotten to it yet. I actually saw about how Google is planning on basically stealing the election. And I don't remember where. I think it was on Twitter that I saw something, and I meant to click it, but I have not seen it. So you're telling me how long is? Let me take a look at this. It's gonna be on Rumble. So I go to Rumble. If I check this out, let me see how long this thing is. Crowder Epstein. I forgot I was sharing that with you. Listen, Dr. Epstein. Well, that didn't work. Stuff. It's an hour and 27 minutes. Yeah, I can't do an hour and 27 minutes on this. I'm going to try and check it out. All right. Over the weekend, that's exactly what happened. McCarthy pushed through a deal to extend government funding into November. The current spending levels were billions of dollars of aid for Ukraine without billions of dollars in aid for Ukraine that Biden wanted. Again, Democrats backed the measure, which the Senate also adopted just ahead of the deadline for a shutdown. Woo, yay, we saved 10 minutes of a shutdown. Thank God the country was averted disaster. The disaster. Gaetz was livid, and his GOP colleagues were furious too. But with him. I think there's some reason to doubt whether or not Matt Gaetz is serious, Representative Dusty Johnson told reporters on Tuesday. He called Gaetz' crusade a miscalculation that would undercut Republicans' narrow House majority. This was a vote for chaos, Bacon said. Yeah, I think it hurts our country, our Congress. Republicans will be weaker for this come next November. How? How are we weaker? Walk me through the how. Because I'm a little baffled by this. I don't get it. I'm not getting it. What part of us is weaker? But I get, unless he means less donations, is that what he means? So I just want to make sure and walk me through this. Walk me through this so I can better understand it. Okay? Because I'm a little confused. Maybe I'm slow. It's possible. You know, sometimes I can be a little slow. Okay, let's assume that they certainly would know better than I would. That McCarthy is this phenomenal rainmaker. Okay? Let's assume that he is a phenomenal rainmaker for the Republican Party. Why does that make him more equipped to be the House Speaker for the Republicans? I mean, is it like, oh, so because he has dollars that come with him, so now is he, if he's not the anointed king, is he going to abandon the Republican Party? If he's not the anointed king, is he going to stop raising money? Is he going to limit his efforts to raise money unless you make him king? Is that what the Republican Party feels like? They're hostage and indebted to McCarthy, that, oh my God, if we don't announce that he's the king of the Republican Party, oh my God, we're never going to see money again? Are these donors uniquely enamored with Kevin McCarthy that they're like, oh, well, hey, if I'm not giving it, if Kevin McCarthy's not asking for it, I'm not cutting that check? What the heck is even happening here? This is like so stupid. There's companies X, Y, Z, A, B, J, Q, all of these 2S LGBTIQ plus companies that are all happily coughing up money only because Kevin McCarthy exists. So if Kevin McCarthy were to drop dead, not that I'm wishing that, I'm genuinely not wishing that on him, but if something happened to him, that he said, I'm done with politics, I'm going to go hang out with Tucker and drive a Range Rover and circle America or whatever, I'm done with this, I'm out of this gig, that they'd be like, well, no reason for us to donate to politicians anymore. Kevin McCarthy isn't in the House. What is happening here? I don't understand why he would stop campaigning for money. I don't understand why people would stop donating money. I don't understand why, even if he is campaigning and massing tens of millions more than any other Republican can figure out how to do, why that means that he's going to be an effective leader of the Republican Party. So it's like wherever the bling is, that person is in charge of our Congress. Is that what these stupid Republicans think? Oh, the guy who brings the bling, that's the guy who has to be he's our thought leader. What the hell does that even mean? How is that not an admission and a tacit admission that you are owned by your donors? Because that's essentially what you're saying. You're saying, well, these donors, they're not going to give as much money because they're going to feel like they're not going to have as much influence in Congress. So the reason we should support Kevin McCarthy, the reason that the Republican Party is being propped up here by Kevin McCarthy is because his donors, these big massive companies, are only giving money if they feel like they can control Kevin McCarthy and Congress with that. So I respectfully say to these hacks who are sitting in Congress, those 200 knuckleheads who all say, hey, we have to support Kevin McCarthy, your claim to that effect is essentially an admission that your entire stinking party is controlled by corporations. Because otherwise there's zero reason that he needs to be the head of the Republican Party or the Speaker of the House. Why? Why do these companies want Kevin McCarthy specifically unless they feel as if they literally have the goods on him, as if they're blackmailing him and can control him into doing and saying whatever their bidding is come tomorrow, next week, next month, next year? That he's completely compromised and owned by these companies, and that they're going to stop shelling up this money, and you're not going to be able to retain your stupid, precious little seat in the House unless he's getting money. So basically what you're saying is your entire stinking party, your entire House, all the Republicans in the House, or 200 of them, are all owned by these corporations. That's what you're admitting when you basically say that that country's going into chaos without Kevin McCarthy in control. It's one of the most humiliating things. It's almost as I struggle to think of any admission the Democratic Party has made which is remotely as humiliating as this. I guess since the last time I saw them do something, the last time I saw the Democrats do anything remotely so humiliating was when they all strapped on those African scarves and took a knee for George Floyd. That's the level of humiliation that I'm seeing in this claim that losing Kevin McCarthy is some sort of big loss that's going to set the Republican Party adrift come next November. I don't know why this made me laugh. Internally, I saw this. This made me laugh. Random, but funny. It is utter nonsense. It is utter nonsense. Perhaps he's going to campaign for Meghan Markle. I don't know what he's going to do. He's not Speaker of the House. Oh my God. The Republican Party should just close up and vote for chaos, Bacon. You're chaos. You're a loser, Bacon. I think it hurts our country and Congress. Republicans will be weaker. You know what? If that's what the Republican Party is all about, we're better off if they're weaker. Better off. I thought the behavior of those 8 folks who voted against McCarthy was shameful. I think your statement here is shameful. It's humiliating. Every one of these folks are just terrible human beings. Self-interest, self-motivated, just power-hungry, vapid individuals who have zero regard for the country that they purport to represent or their constituents. After the vote, Gaetz said his party needed time to go through the grieving process. First, he said it was denial, as GOP leadership hoped they could pry away votes to save McCarthy's gavel. It wasn't clear that lawmakers were in denial of the outcome, but they did appear to be reeling. Give me a minute, guys, Representative Byron Donalds told reporters after the vote his colleagues offered him consolation drinks and cigars back at their offices. Let me think through some things. See, Byron Donalds, I think, even though he voted to keep him in, I think he's a pretty strong member of. I think that's pretty funny. As colleagues offered him consolation drinks and cigars. That's a pretty funny way of phrasing it. Huzzah. I'm grieving. Give me a minute. I need a minute here. Oh my God. That's like when I was Byron Donalds grieving over the loss of Kevin McCarthy. Yeah, the way I grieve when I see a red super chat. It makes me grieve. I weep. I have to just sort of control myself. Then Gaetz said would come more anger. Gaetz and Representative Tim Burchett said they drew the eye of colleagues on their way out of the House chamber. I got cussed at and sneered at, and I get it, Burchett said. I've been down this road before. I've handled bullies before in my life. As the conference went into closed-door meeting Tuesday to determine the GOP's next move, Gaetz said members were headed toward bargaining. I think that's the end of the article. They just don't know how to have a concluding sentence. This is not a concluding sentence. This is Jacob Bogage. Somebody needs to teach you how to write a concluding sentence, because that wasn't it. That was not it. I'm weeping for this red chat right here. I'm weeping for it. God. So that's one reason that Gaetz, and in case you think that's why Gaetz is the most hated man in Congress, because of everything that happened there. Because I guess he exposed the Republican Party as being bought and paid for hacks who are controlled by some nameless, faceless corporations, which is what they basically exposed with their whining about the loss of Kevin McCarthy. I want to share this with you. Because this is another reason that DC hates Matt Gaetz. Hates him. And what I'm about to share with you here is not Matt Gaetz, but it's a Democrat. And I'm starting to think that we need to start fixating a lot more on the individual rather than the party. At the Congressional hearing, the impeachment inquiry, one of the Democratic representatives got up there. I was like, you know what? This guy is a smart man. And the way he's cross-examining these witnesses, I tipped my cap to him. And I haven't seen much. of him yet. And I will point out, yes, that was my point. Drinks and cigars sounds like a celebration. I think they were exposing that Byron Donalds was claiming to be grieving while he was popping champagne in his back room. That's what I thought they were saying. That's what I thought the article was saying. And if they weren't saying that, that's certainly how I read it. Drinks and cigars, and like, it's so sad. Good. It's so sad. As people holding their glass out, he's pouring out these what's the term I'm looking for? What do you call a bottle of champagne? There's something with a C. Hey, Logic's looking at me like I grew a second head. No. There's a special term that you use. So one of you in the chat's going to know that. What do they call a bottle? I gave you both. That was blocked. So awful. I can't believe it. It's so terrible. It's so terrible. I got a red chat from Matt Skinner here. Are you for Klimt? I'm all for Klimt. It's so terrible. It's so awful. Byron Donalds, I need to weep with him. I need to cry and complain. Weep less. Your righteous complaints are valid. Love to hear it. I get one of these terrible red chats. These red super chats make me so miserable. Only alcohol can help me overcome the awful feeling I get from red super chats, or that Byron Donalds gets from watching Kevin McCarthy be removed as speaker. It's terrible. It's terrible. Ugh. That's helping. Thank you. No more. I can't handle any more misery. Okay. So last week when I was covering the impeachment inquiry, I said that Ro Khanna, I was like, I have to tell you something. I like his game. I don't like where he's coming from. I said the style and the way he was attacking the witnesses was old school, smart, crisp questions to pin them in and make his point. And I respected the cleverness as an attorney, the crispness and the unique approach that he took, which he was like, these are witnesses. I'm going to cross-examine them, and I'm going to help drive my point home. Even though his point was completely divergent from how I felt about the inquiry, I recognize that he's counsel essentially for Biden when he's coming in there and spending his 5 minutes there. And I had to respect his skill and intellect in the way he approached it. I said, you know what? This is very different from someone whining and complaining. This is effective questioning by Ro Khanna. Well, here's Ro Khanna a few weeks back.
American people are frustrated and exhausted with the corruption and role of big money in the halls of Congress.
Tell me that this is not something you want your congressman to be saying.
That is why I'm introducing a 5-point plan. First, ban all PAC and lobbyist money to congressional campaigns.
Ban all PAC money to congressional campaigns? Okay, I kind of like it.
I don't take a dime of it. Second, ban completely stock trading and members of Congress from ever becoming lobbyists.
Ban stock trading by members of Congress. Who is this guy? Who is he?
Activists like Unusual Whales, Quiver Quantitative, and the leaders at Crew have been mobilizing for this. Third, term limits for members of Congress. Fourth, term limits for
members of Congress.
For Supreme Court justices. And fifth, an ethics code for Supreme Court justices. This is common sense. The people demand it. It's time we give them back their government and we reform in Washington. We should have bipartisan support for this 5-point plan.
I don't agree with his term limits on Supreme Court justices. That's going to be tough for him to pass because that's constitutional. I believe, fairly certain it's in the Constitution. I haven't looked at that element of the Constitution recently. My recollection is that that's a life appointment. So changing the Constitution, that I can get behind his plan only because I feel as if he's never going to get enough to amend the Constitution. But everything else this man is saying, I'm like, heck yeah. Heck yeah. When Matt Gaetz exposes our selfish, soulless GOP politicians being just as evil and selfish as Democratic politicians. Yep, that moment when Matt Gaetz exposes our selfish, soulless GOP politicians be just as evil and selfish as Democrat politicians. Uniparty, they're all the same. They are all exactly the same. And that's why I'm saying we need to start analyzing individuals in Congress rather than party affiliation. Because party affiliation has some impact, but not complete control. Not complete control. Wait, I missed this earlier. Mukantuwiap? It's a Paiute word? Did I just curse out gypsies or something in Paiute? What does that mean? I don't know what's happening here. So, Quiver Quante says, last month, Representative Ro Khanna announced an anti-corruption plan that includes a ban on congressional stock trading, 12-year term limit for Congress, ban on political donations from lobbyists or PACs. Yeah. Well. Matt Gaetz responded to this, and this is why they really hate him. Because when you're a power-hungry congressional monster who just wants to sit in Congress, get your check, and have everyone think that you're the bomb because you're a member of the House, and all you care about is retaining that power, you don't want term limits. You don't want to have a limit on soft PAC money or lobbyist money. And Matt Gaetz is all about that. He all about that. Okay, let's negotiate. My GOP colleagues want to raise the threshold on the motion to vacate. What's the motion to vacate? That's the motion, how many people you need to gather together to initiate a motion to remove the Speaker of the House from his chair. Part of the negotiations that they had was that they cut it down to one. That's one of the few things that they forced Kevin McCarthy to concede if he wanted to win the speakership back last January. So they want to raise the threshold. A lot of GOP people are like, we can't have just any one person. We can't have Matt Gaetz go up there and take down the next guy we bring up there. So he says, this is a question for all of them. If we enact the reforms Representative Ro Khanna lays out here, how high would you like the MTV threshold to be? Because I'll basically give you whatever you want on the MTV for this stuff. That's someone who says, I'm not sitting here looking for my own power so I can spend the rest of my life as some career politician sitting in the House for the next 30 years. Which he arguably could sit there for the next 30 years. He's young enough that he doesn't have to worry about it. That he could make a complete and total that could be the legacy of his life. That I'm just going to I'll be a member of the House for the rest of my life. But he's not worrying about that. He's willing to accept term limits and limit and stop people from collecting money and bringing in PAC money and lobbyist money. And that's why he's offering up that he would raise the MTV threshold, the motion to vacate the Speaker's chair, threshold, so this way you can't just pull them out so fast. You know, a whole bunch of folks to bring forward the motion. Well, when Matt Gaetz sent this out, Cami Mandu said Gaetz says he's willing to raise the motion to vacate threshold in exchange for things like a vote on term limits, ban on stock trading, etc. That Ro Khanna is offering a new political reform plan. I spoke with Khan about that plan last month. She's basically pumping her article on that. And Ro Khanna says, let's push for a floor vote on any three of the items, Matt Gaetz. Instead of having members call each other names, it's time to recognize the American people are fed up with how this place functions, don't have a high opinion of us, and are demanding some common sense changes. Yep. See, this is a guy, I don't care that he's a Democrat. I don't care. He seems to actually give the slightest bit at least the tiniest interest in reeling back the power structure that DC has become. So Matt Gaetz responded, how many Democrats can you deliver for this agenda? I cap out somewhere around 8. 8. There are 8 Republicans that Matt Gaetz says he could deliver on term limits and abolishing money. That he could not find 10 people from the Republican Party who would be willing to sign off on term limits and restricting funds, so you actually have private donors. You actually don't have companies controlling these folks. You know, Ro Khanna responds, you know what's sad, Matt? Not more than 10 amongst Democrats. Let's be honest with folks. American people should know that less than 20 members advocate for banning PAC and lobbyist money. Even though at the polls at 80%, many need to be shamed into voting for it once it's put on the floor. Totally agree. Totally agree with you, Ro Khanna. Totally agree. I'm going to give this guy a follow now. Hearing that. Totally agree. This is the difference between people who are trying to deliver to Americans what Americans want versus delivering to Americans empty promises while they do everything they can to position themselves to have more and more power, more and more money. With empty promises and lies about how they're working for you. They care about you. Esky, Michigan. How are you, Adam? Everything Ro Khanna just argued for was tyrannical intent to serve the left-wing agenda, except the term limit he knows won't happen. Everything else was to benefit Democrats. So walk me through this, Adam. Walk me through it. Because if you got term limits, I don't like abolish. I agree with you. I don't like limiting the instituting term limits for Supreme Court. Well, I can see a day when I might be convinced to think the opposite. I can see a day 20 years from now where I'll be sickened by the people who are sitting on the Supreme Court. Walk me through it, Adam. I had conversations with Nick Ricada about this notion as far as where he was like, if Citizens United was overturned and companies can no longer donate money, that all the people who are currently in power, who have already amassed these massive war chests, will stay in power forever. And I say back to that, they're already going to be there forever. They're already going to be there forever. That's going to happen. AOC has amassed a massive war chest. I get it. She has. You're not getting rid of her. She's there. She's there for as long as she lives, if she so desires. That's the reality. So you tell me why it is that we shouldn't try to remedy this for the future. I don't mean 5 years from now. I mean 10 years from now. I mean, if we institute this now, in 20 years, 25 years, you won't have it. By then, there'll be a turnover of 95% of Congress. Everything O'Connor is advocating is in Mark Levin's book, The Liberty Amendments, namely term limits on Congress and the Supreme Court. See, this is interesting. So here I have two people who I would both consider both of them to be fairly based. Adam saying this is a liberal agenda, and Monk in Training saying that Mark Levin is advocating for this same plan that Ro Khanna is asking for. So that's why I'm asking you, Rescue Michigan. Adam, walk me through it. Why is it that, how is this a uniquely liberal perspective? Left-wing agenda. Not liberal, left-wing agenda. Leave God and Grifty, time me out. Misogyny. I have confidence in my mods. I don't know what happened. I was not looking behind the scenes. I think it's unlikely it was misogyny. I think it's probably funny though. Misogyny. Congress and the Senate are nonsense. Of course they are, Matt. Of course they are. I wanted to tell you, by the way, Matt. You asked me the other day, it was 2 days ago, to go to the Trump trial, and I said I'm going to try to get to it next week. So I know Trump is not there anymore, and it's basically going to be a whole bunch of accountants and stuff like that that are there. I'm still thinking about trying to go down there anyway, and I don't think he's going to be back until the defense comes, until the prosecution rests and defense comes. I certainly plan on being there for his testimony if I can so work it out and wrangle that. That's definitely in, unless they bring him in on a Friday afternoon, on a short Friday when I have to get home for the Sabbath. But otherwise, I plan on basically trying to find any way I can to be there. But I'm going to try and get in there sometime next week and maybe to spend a day there and feel it out and see how my audience responds to it. So I just want to follow up and let you know I didn't forget about it. I didn't forget about that. So when I talk about how he's hated, what I'm saying is you have all of 18 people in Congress who agree with him on anything. And the majority of those are Democrats who I'm sure don't love him because he's a Republican and there is strong party affiliation in Washington. So that being the case, I say to you, in Congress, there's probably less than 10 people who could stand the sight of Matt Gaetz. And I say that as a compliment to him because in Congress, we have over 400 snakes. That's what you got there. 400 snakes. It's like, good golly. I don't want to call them snakes or rats because they tend to be enemies. Snakes and rats, right? The analogy doesn't really work so well when you start. Yeah. Let me make sure. So that was my take on that. I wanted to share with you. But I do think he's the most hated man in D.C. On Capitol Hill, he's the most hated man. He's not the most hated person of all the people who are hated on Capitol Hill. I'm saying amongst the people who work on Capitol Hill, he's the most hated person. I think they hate him. I think more people hate Matt Gaetz. More people sitting in Congress hate Matt Gaetz than hate Donald Trump. Because he's a threat to their power structure. And he's showing a willingness to work across party lines where necessary to actually get something done. So Dan Snyder might not be very popular there. And we know an honest reporter is like basically garlic to vampires. But my God, can you imagine an honest reporter walking the halls of the Capitol? They probably they probably shriek in horror, raise their skirts and go running for the hills. Keep with the religious conscience, brother. I'll sleep fine. Keep with your religious conscience, brother. I'll sleep fine. No, yeah. So I definitely was going to do that, but I'm saying I don't know if I'm going to try to cover at least. I'm going to try and go down there at least one day and see if I can get in there. I don't even know how the system's set up there. When it was in federal court with the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, so they actually had viewing rooms set up to watch the trial because you couldn't get into the room unless you showed up at 3 o'clock in the morning. With I don't know how they have it structured here. This is in state court, so I don't know how they have it structured. The one advantage I have in state court is in federal court, my attorney's pass doesn't get me past security. In state court, my attorney's pass does, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. We need a constitutional amendment abolishing the direct taxation of citizens by the federal government as was initially proposed in the Bill of Rights. Yeah, good golly. Good luck with that. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. All right. Last thing I wanted to cover was this. Last thing that I wanted to cover before I last call for alcohol. Oh, actually, before I get to that, I just want you to listen to these idiots. Before I close up Matt Gaetz.
Compare him to that top.
If you're wondering just how corrupt and terrible Fox News is, not that you really probably need any more evidence.
Gaetz, you compared him to Ross Perot, and shame on you. You should not throw Ross Perot in the sewage lagoon with Matt Gaetz. I would compare him to that toddler that we've all seen at the family barbecue, eating toilet paper, shoving Cheerios up his nose to get attention. Because that's what Matt Gaetz did yesterday, saddling up with all those Democrats.
Yeah, I would compare you to some sort of Hollywood creature made out of paper mache, which, you know, when they call action, they get it to breathe fire and go. My God, this woman looks like she's made out of plastic and just spewing out such utter nonsense that Matt Gaetz siding up with the Democrats is a reflection of who he is, that there's something wrong with him. Why did he go to the Democrats? Why did he go there? Oh, yeah, because he was mad at Kevin McCarthy for going to the Democrats. You stupid shill.
Go to that barbecue.
Let's stop.
I don't have a lot of advice for my House colleagues other than this. Follow your heart, but take your brain with you. The American people expect us to govern. I also advise my House colleagues to be sure and take your meds. That's from Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana. Thank you for sending me that, by the way. Look.
When he's telling them to take their meds, he's telling the 200 Republicans, what the heck is wrong with you? Take your meds.
I do want to look at both sides of this because I think it's important. The American people have said, and we know it in those districts where these 8 and many others have run on the Republican side, that they don't want business as usual in Washington.
Yep.
And to make change, sometimes it is tricky, it is dirty. But you know what helps you?
It's messy. It's messy. Sometimes you need to embrace the messiness. That's a good thing. Embrace the messy.
When you make change, having a plan for after the change happens.
Okay.
And I think that's what
you can't really make a plan when you're one of 8. You know, he's sitting there basically. The plane, this plane is trying to fly itself, and he's trying to basically take it away from the terrorists. So yeah, you have to take it step by step. No one said to John McClane, what's your plan for how you're going to overcome 32 terrorists in the building? What's your plan? Sometimes you have to go sometimes you need to work on the fly.
What happened? I had, Representative Andy Biggs on last hour of Arizona, and he said, well, I didn't know that Patrick McHenry was going to send everybody home. He said, I'm still in Washington. There are a ton of hearings and things that we could be doing right now. He said, yeah, we can't go ahead with, the subpoenas. What about the impeachment inquiry?
Bingo.
The subpoena.
That's a good question. Why the heck Patrick McHenry sent everyone home? I don't know.
Those can go through, but you need a Speaker of the House to actually make sure that those things are ready to go.
You're making me sad again. I'm all miserable. God, it's terrible. It's terrible. What am I going to do? It's awful. I have to blow that horn. It blows in my ears, and it's also terrible. It's awful. That war horn. I'm going to have to raise another drink. Well, at least finish the last one. But yeah, just it's like I'm full of sleep, and it's just like I just have to hear that over and over. It's awful, terrible. Awful. Miserable. Just disastrous. I can't even find the words to capture my level of misery that I'm feeling right now. It's almost like, you know, how if you go to like a really expensive restaurant, like a crazy expensive restaurant, and you get like so full on like this massive steak, you're stuffing and gorging yourself. A massive steak until like your belt is bursting. And then when you're ready to push yourself back from the table, suddenly the waiter brings out this huge lamb, this roasted lamb, and the aroma is coming into your nose, and you can smell that delicious lamb, but you literally can't eat another bite. Terrible. Miserable. Awful. Makes me sad. Makes me feel at a loss. I feel alone and confused and scared. It's terrible. That's me when I get red super chats. Or Byron Donalds when Kevin McCarthy is ousted. Thank you, brother.
Oh, and can get on those committees, and that those committees are still flowing, so on and so forth. But he didn't know. So, and I said, well,
what's he supposed to do?
Oh.
What's he supposed to do? He's one of 8 people. Don't you realize how corrupt they are? There's less than 20 people who are willing to vote on term limits, for crying out loud, woman.
8 of you, did you game this out? Did you get together and figure out what was going to happen? And
game it out like they have control. They're 8 people.
Well, I knew how I was going to vote. I didn't even know that all the Democrats were going to.
Do you realize that's 5% of Congress?
Join us. Look, this needed.
5% of Congress managed to control 100% of Congress in getting something done that has never, ever, ever, ever been done in anyone's memory. What's it, 110 years?
Did a day one after vote meeting with those who were going to block. For some reason, it doesn't look like that happened. And certainly for Representative Biggs, some of what the interim Speaker of the House, Patrick McHenry, is doing, according to what he just told me on the Faulkner Focus, is rather surprising to him. I have more examples, but I shouldn't be the only person who talks.
Well, and one of the 8 were not all together in this, because one of the 8 was upset that she didn't get pro-choice legislation and anti-gun legislation. So clearly not ideologically coming from a conservative place. But Emily, the American people.
Pro-choice? Mace wants pro-choice? She's the only woman who was part of the 8.
Well, I believe they sit back and look at this. They see chaos. They see the fact that you have a Democrat who pulled a fire alarm. They see the fact that Republicans are fighting one another. You have a congressman getting carjacked because of lawless Democrat policies in D.C. And here's their reality. This is the reality of Americans. Childcare costs more than college in 28 states. Starter homes, a thing of the past for millennial and Gen Z. U.S. inflation eroded wages as child poverty jumped. Why aren't we addressing these issues? Instead, we are fighting against one another.
That's right. And these same American people, ourselves included, are the ones paying the salaries of those participating in the circus. Optics matters. And as well, so does harnessing this narrative for as we approach the election.
We're not approaching the election. All right, just stop with that. We're not approaching the election. Nobody in history has been like, oh, because of this thing that happened in Congress 14 months ago, that's affecting how I'm voting in November of a year divisible by 4. Please. Never, ever. It's never happened before. And it's not about to happen in 2024. That people were like, oh, 14 months ago, I can't believe what the House looked like. Now I have to vote for Biden because of that. What? Like, stop it. Stop with the lies.
This is an absolutely appalling what went on under their.
Think about this. In November 2020, was anybody thinking about the speech that Trump gave This at the State of the Union in 2020 when he's talking about how jobs are all-time high and black unemployment is an all-time low and the economy is booming and Nancy Pelosi ripping up her no one's remembering it because a couple of incidents happened along the way between then and when people got to vote. Whether it was George Floyd, whether it was COVID, whether it was lockdowns, whether it was whatever, a couple of incidents happened along the way. And I can safely predict without feeling like I'm going too far out on a limb that a couple of events may happen sometime over the next 14 months, which may make early October 4th, 2023, relatively forgettable in the minds of voters in 2024. I'm just going on a limb with that. Whatever happens, whatever's in the papers this week somehow is like the biggest deal in the world that's going to affect elections. It doesn't affect anything. Just stop it.
Their watch. No explanation, no sound bites that gets likes on Twitter can explain away the absolute abomination that occurred in the Congressional Hall yesterday. I note as well the DNC response that
happened in the Congressional Hall. What are you talking about?
That, all right, well, now that we're the adults in the room, that's exactly as this appears. It's similar. Let's bring up the football analogy again. If you get hit first, if you hit back, you are the one that is penalized. So it doesn't matter Gaetz's explanations, but this. It makes them look juvenile, and they are
No, just because they're whining that McCarthy shouldn't have to live up to his promises doesn't make him juvenile. That's like saying that Trump is to blame when people lie in twisting his words for saying you're twisting my words. This airhead who sits here well coiffed and being able to get a spot on Fox News express because she's actually heard of a few congressmen. So now she's able to come here and express the most idiotic opinions, which probably are actually being spoon-fed to her by some stupid writer for Fox News. My God. Idiots.
Absolutely squandering our taxpayer dollars and our time. And
squandering our taxpayer dollars. He's trying to save hundreds of billions of that. Idiot.
Importantly, as Aisha Hosni reported as she caught up with Representative Graves earlier this morning, everything is at a standstill.
Fox News championing the Ukraine war cause, worrying about squandering our taxpayer dollars.
Because there is no precedence for this, we actually have no idea, and the answer is it's likely unobtainable, undoable, that the existing subpoenas can be enforced, that we can issue new subpoenas, that there can be any oversight whatsoever. So basically, all of the movement that the House was actually achieving, the things that were actually...
You were actually achieving. What legislation passed that was an actual achievement? Tell us about it. I guess the parental rights. That's nice. Okay. Why do you need McCarthy for that to happen? Why couldn't any other Republican have done that?
Demonstrating value and dedication to the American people.
No value. No value. Not when they're signing off on the same stupid CRs and saying we're going to pay the same amount in tax, we're going to have the same amount in deficit year after year after year after year after year after year after year for 3 decades.
Appropriate stewardship of their funds.
Stewardship of their funds toward Ukraine is what you're talking about. That's where you're stewarding our funds. You're not stewarding it towards protecting us. Which, by the way, I don't know if you know this. I'm going to pass this on to you. My father threw this at me, and I saw a headline about it that apparently Biden has woken up to the fact that hey, maybe we actually kind of need a wall, which I think it would be hilarious if he ends up building more wall than Trump. That would be hilarious. I don't really care if he does. That's what I should try to pitch him to do. Build more wall, one up Trump, and say you didn't build the wall, I did.
It's frozen right now, and it took 15 times for McCarthy to get that speakership position.
Right.
How many times is it going to get this next one? He was voted in January.
Who cares?
They started in November. So what all this time that we're going to waste, we are being...
What are you talking about starting in November? It was 3 days. What the hell are you talking about?
So ill-served right now. Not served at all.
And you've got to get them all to coalesce around one person, and they're excellent choices, Jim Jordan, Steve Scalise, but you got to coalesce around one.
Right.
Like that's impossible to happen, right? Like having multiple choices is a bad thing.
Is Matt Gaetz going to make each and every one who wants to be the speaker come kiss his ring?
Yes.
Who are you? Who is this woman? I want to know who this woman. I want to know who her hairdresser is for one. What the heck is that? Looks like it was like some mop that was thrown on her head. I don't know what's happening here. But why would anyone think that you have to kiss Matt Gaetz' ring? Like I mean, yeah, that's probably true. He is going to say like that it's got to be someone who's not going to be some neocon. That'd be a good thing.
Yeah, and give him a pedicure maybe in public.
Ooh. Who's the whiny one now, Karen?
What Andy Biggs was talking about, Andy Biggs knew that the speaker, Kevin McCarthy, might very well get ousted, regardless of what happened in the coming week. And he knew that if the speaker was ousted, that, to paraphrase what Congressman Byron Donalds was talking about, that the appropriations bills that they were working on would get tossed right out of the window.
Really?
And funding the government.
Really, under threat of closure, I don't think that they would, because the Senate doesn't want to be responsible for closing Congress. So no.
Right out of the window.
Right out
coming up in November, and securing the border right out of the window. So he did know that would happen. And I just want to say one thing about Matt Gaetz. You compared him to Ross Perot, and shame on you. You should not throw Ross Perot in the sewage lagoon with Matt Gaetz. I would compare him to that toddler that we've all seen at the family barbecue eating toilet paper. What?
This is Fox MSNBC here. That's basically what we're saying. Honestly, she makes Rachel Maddow look attractive.
Shoving Cheerios up his nose to get attention. Yeah. Because that's what Matt Gaetz did yesterday, saddling up.
And you wonder why no one watches Fox News. All right. Last thing I want to share with you. It's 12:07. I just want to say this. I tweeted this out. I just want to share one last thought with you, because I mentioned that in my title that I was going to cover the New York City stabbing. So I want to do that. And that is, where are you? Let's pull this up. Where is it? Why I don't see it. Now I tweeted this out. Hold on a second. Here it is. Sorry about that. This is the video. Which, no, they don't show anyone being killed in this video. Nick's flaking. Keep going. I love crapping on Fox. He's not flaking. Is he really? I was going to kick you over to him. That's why I was sort of trying to rush this out of here. Is he really flaking tonight? He was supposed to for sure be streaming tonight. Let me see if that's right. Son of a gun. Really? I hope he's okay. The redhead's name is Dagan McDowell. I used to really like her. Gosh. Go ham. You're go. Damn right. I don't know what you're talking about here, Matt. Go ham. You're go. Damn right. I don't know what you're saying, brother. They should carry canes in the Congress. That would be amazing. That'd be amazing. They were beating each other in Congress. Oh, I so wish. I so wish. That'd be so great. We need to go back to the days of duels. All's fair in law and love and lawfare, ladies. She is a nasty person. She is. Dagan McDowell. YouTube's out again. Couldn't super chat with T's name. Really? T-Man? Oh, that's Dagan? Dagan is a T-Man? I'm confused. Because it could be. I don't know. I don't know. Is that really true? Wait, is Dagan? I don't know what we're saying. Dagan used to be on with Don Imus. He's also not a big fan of Don Imus either. Is he still alive? Oh. Go ham. That's what he was saying here. Go ham. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you for walking me through. And this explains that too. Lack of protein. All right, so let me share this video here. You probably have seen this video. A lot of people are talking about it. A lot of people are talking about this. I can't hear what they're saying in this video. Like, I've tried. Other than him saying chill, I cannot hear what they say, what he's saying. And I was very confused as to why everyone assumed he was a progressive, other than the fact that he was a white dude in New York City. But, which, it's a pretty safe bet in general. But this is, these are three people, one of whom, in a minute 3 of this video, will no longer be alive. Now, let me teach you a couple lessons here, okay? So I'm going to tell you this. Watch, you can sort of see at the top of the... Dude is kicking garbage cans. At this point, okay, here's a tip from the Juice, okay? This is a tip from the Juice, who are used to living in New York and not carrying guns. A tip from the Juice is when you see that, you cross the street. It's very simple. You cross the street, same as you would, especially if you're with a woman, especially if you're with a woman. You're like, you know what? I don't need to get involved with all that, okay? You just cross the street. It's that simple. Because there are obviously some issues that are happening here, and anyone who is in his general zone is inviting an opportunity to become a part of those issues. So why are you doing this? You simply cross the street. And failing to heed to that can have very grave consequences. She stopped. See the spot where she stopped? That's where you just cross the street. You just cross it. Right there. Right turn. We're going this way. Look at that really interesting storefront over there that's boarded up across the street. We need to look at that some more closely. It's that simple. But he's like, no. I'm going to engage. I'm going to show him my concern. That's going to cure his ills. So it seems as if hoodie guy is angry about something, but I can't not tell what he's saying. And white guy is saying chill, which that should go on his epitaph. Just chill, chill, chill. All right, no man should run in that style. Just saying. Men do not run that way. I don't know what's happening there. I mean, I know what's happening, but it's not going to go well for him. Reach in that pocket. Right hand reaching into the back pocket. That's not good. Oh, man, you saw that? You saw that? A little flash there. Right there. Look at that. Right over here. That's not good. So they cut what happens next, but chill dude is on the floor. Seems like the woman doesn't really know. This part of the video is even more confusing to me. Just the reaction of everyone involved. Like, she's not screaming. She's like looking around.
I'm sorry. Are you doing? Go watch him. Go watch him.
Go watch him? Go watch him? That woman runs off screaming Luke as if she knows lunatic, dude. All right. So yeah, that was some bad skipping and jumping by Mary Jane there. That did not go well. It's not like, I don't think it instilled the proper level of fear in his aggressor. when you run like this, that doesn't instill this motion here. It's not sort of thing that people see that and say, I don't want to mess with this guy. When the white guy does this move. Yeah, that's not the move that's going to be intimidating. That's basically the motions of someone who's basically projecting lunch meat. That's what he's projecting, lunch meat. He's not a threat, but that he's ready to be carved, and he got carved. Now, the reason I bring this up, why am I sharing this when you've likely seen it? Nick looked fine earlier. He was streaming with a woman, Zia Land, in a bikini covering herself with Hershey's and whipped cream earlier this evening. All right. Well, he's okay. Not an assumption. He's a known entity. Just mockingly retweeted Scott Adams in 2019 about people being deleted if Biden wins the day before this. Oh, yeah, I understand that. I mean, I guess people looked into who he was and saw that he was a progressive. Sending an email proving YouTube super chat effery. Nick streams in 42 doing Grifty's job for him. Hashtag men. I don't know what that means. He streams in 42. Is that like 42 frames per second? I don't know what he's streaming. I don't know what that means. All right. Well, the reason I brought this to your attention is because Cernovich tweeted this out and wrote this. Hey, bro, just like chill out, bro. I'm on your side, bro. Go attack the maggots, bro. No! When he tweeted this out, this got a lot of hate. A lot of hate. People got very angry. I saw this. This was shared. This came in my feed, not because Cernovich wrote it, but someone else was retweeting him out. People saying, this is horrific. What happened? The mocking posts in the comments. A prime example of why I will never give up my firearms, and a church example where we're on political discourse as a nation. What else did I see here? Where was it? I'm trying to remember who I'd seen it. If you look at the view quotes, Hannah Cox, we're seriously at the mocks innocent man who was murdered in the streets because he maybe had different political views than me. Level of political discourse. I don't care if this guy's a leftist. Gloating over a video of him getting murdered just sucks. He died while courageously defending his girlfriend from a violent maniac. Not courageously, but it's certainly not intelligently. Maybe I'm not a good conservative, but I think when a law-abiding person gets murdered by a lunatic, that's a very sad thing, even if the victim was liberal. This guy has it right, Rob Smith. I would turn around across the street the second he started kicking the trash can. Yep, that's what everyone does. You always avoid the first sign of crazy. Yep. It's absolutely ghoulish, horribly disrespectful to mock a man who died. This happened to be a few blocks away from my house. The amount of violence in Bed-Stuy is just heartbreaking. Don't claim you know how to successfully save yourself in this deeply awful situation. Of course I can claim that. It's very obvious. Stay away. That's who I saw from Destiny. Remember that these conservatives were all hand-wringing when people made fun of Rush, the lifelong proud smoker dying of cancer. That's where I saw it. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about, Destiny? That's where I saw it. That's it. So the reason I just wanted to share here, what I wanted to share with you was my thoughts on this, which actually Cernovich retweeted. I typoed it. And I think this is an important thing to remember. Like when you're sitting here, because a lot of people sit there, and I'll tell you this much, you sort of like feel like a certain sense of satisfaction. I saw this tweet 3 minutes after I finished my stream last night. And I was like, why is Cernovich saying what he's saying? Because it does bother me, the idea of mocking someone who's killed. Like that bothers me. But I still thought that there was nothing wrong with this response. So I actually spent like 5 minutes just sort of dissecting. And when I say 5 minutes, it's really closer to 30 seconds, but a solid 30 seconds, like a real 30 seconds. And if you're sitting not doing anything for 30 seconds, it feels like 5 minutes. And I was like, oh, okay, this is really what's happening. And then I put my thoughts to paper, and I wanted to share them with you because I think it's an important thing to remember. The tweet from Cernovich is drawing a great deal of ire from the left. They claim that it's evil to cheer the murder of another. They're right, and yet so terribly wrong. This is not the glee of huzzah, he's dead. And that's the way the left is looking at it. That's the way Destiny read it. You're saying, huzzah, he's dead. And that's what the left was doing when he died of lung cancer. That's the difference, Destiny, is that when the left was happy about Rush being dead, they were happy because he was specifically dead. This is mockery of every stupid U.S. policy that the left embraces and defends. It's mockery of the enablers and defunders. It's mockery of white privilege criers and the CRT DEI advocates. It's mockery of those who advocate for a society to play stupid games and then weep when society wins stupid prizes. It's mockery of you leftists, not him. Nobody celebrates this individual's death. Nobody's celebrating their death. So maybe this video helps us bring us closer to self-reflection. And that's the thing that I think that we all need to recognize. If you felt good when you saw that video because this progressive got shanked, that's likely why you felt that way. It's not some schadenfreude where you're like gleeful about someone else's misfortune. It's more a matter of what the hell did you think was going to happen? What is going through your head? All of this is predictable. All of the shortcomings of these policies, when you say defund the police, when you say that white people are inferior, or that my truth matters, not the truth. All of these notions basically enable crazy people to act like crazy people without fear of repercussion. If you're a black person living in New York City and you get into a fight with a white person, you know that the law and more importantly, those who are enforcing the law are likely to be on your side. This is what you get when you say that a guy who gets robbed, that when an immigrant gets robbed and attacked in his own little stupid bodega store, not even bodega, those little vestibules where he's just standing there working his tail off trying to feed his family and gets attacked by a lunatic and defends himself, that he ends up getting charged by a DA. What the hell do you think that impact is on your society? Well, the impact is that a guy can basically shank someone in the streets, and if he's white, you don't have to worry about it. That's what you're telling them. That's what you're telling your society. And everyone's saying, yay, you're so good at what you're doing. That's why people are cheering, because it's cheering that it's exposing how stupid these policies are. And certainly it's far better if those who cheer these policies are the ones who suffer the consequences rather than those who've been opposing them. I certainly don't want to see anyone get harmed. I don't want to see anybody die. I don't want to see anybody suffering, and I don't care what their political stripe is. I'm not looking for that. I'm not about that. I don't care about that happening. But I can understand the vindication that people feel when they say, this is the situation you yourself helped to unleash, that you were a victim of. This sort of Damocles of danger hovering over society's head is something that you put that sword up there and left it hanging by a thread. And when it falls and ends up slitting your throat for it, at least it's your throat, because you put it there. And stop putting it up there. Stop it. Recognize what you're doing instead of thinking that you're being virtuous. Recognize when virtue has morphed into stupidity. And that's why people are cheering. Because they feel like maybe we're one day closer towards you waking up and recognizing how ridiculous these policies are. I think it's terrible when anyone is racist against black people or against Asians or Jews or any minority. And I think it is absolutely no less terrible when people are racist against white folks. It's zero less tolerable. It's not like moderately bad. No, there is absolutely nothing more acceptable about it. But that notion has been pushed upon society by our culture, by Hollywood, by Congress, by the woke district attorneys. It's being shoved down our throats at football games and where they're saying all this stupid messaging and turning our sports arenas and our basketball courts into monasteries of politics. Always standing up to him and never once trying to stop anyone from hating on white people. Rather instead clearly articulating that all of our problems are caused by white people. And that's what this breeds. It breeds this. It's terrible. It's no less racist just because the guy has paler skin, is lacking pigmentation. Girlfriend refused to give a description to police, you see, she's part of the problem. She's part of the problem. I mean, what kind of lunatic? I won't give a description to the police. Freaking lunatic. Literally killing themselves, falling on their own swords. Let this guy just go kill more people. I believe in virtue and civility, but we live in uncivil times. If ghoulish rhetoric arouses people from complacency, then that's what should be used. I understand what you're saying. What I'm saying is it's not salivating in suffering because ha ha ha. It's not like savoring in a situation where, let's say, that same person, if he was burnt alive in a fire, nobody would be cheering. That's the difference. As opposed to if Rush Limbaugh was burnt alive in a fire, the same people who cheered his death would be cheering for his death by fire instead of by lung cancer. And somehow people like Destiny don't seem to get that. Some people, the people on the left, they don't seem to get, and Destiny certainly doesn't understand this, that's all the difference in the world. That's not where people being happy because this guy has died. They're happy that his death is a reflection of the stupidity of the policies that are being promoted by people like him. At least that's a death which has slightly more meaning than if he fell down a flight of stairs and broke his neck. Right? Check Andy Knows tweets on this dude tweet regarding Rush. Oh, this is what I didn't pull up. Hey, man, let's just love everyone, please. You're making me miserable. It's like you're killing me. It's like now you're bringing out the desserts. You're bringing out the desserts, and it's like all this big mousse. And I'm like, I'm so full. And you got this flaming, like thing dish that's coming up there. It's terrible. It's terrible. I just need to, just to sort of cheer myself up a little bit. Yeah, that helps a little bit. I check Andy Knows tweet. All right, I got a few minutes here, I guess. Check out Andy Knows tweet. I like Andy Know. Scrolling. Oh, the streams are swollen. Keep them doggies scrolling. Scroll on through rain and musty weather. Hell bent for leather. Wishing my girl was by my side. All them things I'm missing. Good riddles, loving, kissing. Waiting in my ride. Move 'em out, head 'em out, move 'em up, move 'em up, head 'em out, rawhide. Despite Ryan Carson dedicating his life to the abolishment of law enforcement, a sentiment shared by his BLM activist girlfriend Claudia V. Morales, the NYPD worked in overdrive to arrest the black male suspect accused of murdering him on a Brooklyn street. What a lunatic. She's a lunatic, Claudia. Claudia Morales, you're a lunatic. You're seriously a lunatic. Check that out in a second. I don't know what he's sharing here. What am I supposed to get from this? Glenn Turner? I don't know what this is. Abolish the police seems like a poorly thought out idea that's gotten popular with shocking speed. Read a book, bro. Yeah, this guy knows. Oh, is this him? Is he read a book, bro? That's him? That's him? Was that the point? You know the far left hates destiny, right? You'd survive 5 minutes of debate with him. He knows every fact, every study, and hates woke. Okay. I've seen him debate. I don't think he's a stupid person, but I've seen him debate. There's certain tactics he employs. I'm not concerned. Ryan Carson had intense hatred for law enforcement, viewing them as subhuman. He attended a violent BLM Antifa riot in 2020 and made observations on how his comrades could better riot when Antifa were described as pussies who aspired. He'd be able to whoop your little baby ass. No, this was what Death Cab for Cohen? That's what the hell does that even mean? Art school jock. I saw the way he ran. He's no art school jock. He's no art school jock. Look, I know I'm beating my own dead horse here. Get it? Because he's laying there. But from seeing comrades throw things back at cops tonight, leftists absolutely need to get into sports, if for no other reason so that they can throw something without hitting their comrades. Yeah. No, he was a jock, this dude. He was a jock. Wow. Andy exposing him. Andy exposing this dude. Wow. Murdered Brooklyn Antifa activist Ryan Carson, who was celebrated by leftist Democrats for his kindness, and locked his 2 accounts. Ryan T. Carson, art school jock, but posts have emerged showing him celebrating death and violence. Oh, there he is. Their precinct being destroyed. This is really good. Hi, political organizer here. It's not bullying to hold elected officials accountable. That being said, I would love to shove this little effing nerd in the locker where he belongs. I don't know who he's talking about. But he's basically a loon. Well, there you go. So rest in peace, Ryan Carson. All right. I know Nick's not here. I would have wrapped this show up 15 minutes ago. Will not provide description be obstruction? No, it's not obstruction. There's no obligations to talk to the police. Scroll back up. You missed it. I think I got it now. What did I miss? I got it all now. If an officer had shown up in time and shot Ryan Carson's attacker dead, I believe Carson's girlfriend on the left would call for the police to be in prison for murder. Yeah, probably. Probably. Oh, this is what I missed initially. Yeah. Ryan Threesen Carson. There you go. Does feel like justice. He helped create this situation. He helped create it. And now his girlfriend is like, he doesn't deserve justice. Because, hey, you know, white man, patriarchy. Why should he be entitled to justice? We should privatize police. Imagine if cities competed for the best police forces the same way they competed for sports teams. Oh my God, that would be amazing. It would be. But how are you going to give them the authority to do what they need to do? It's hard to figure out how they would be competing. It's really hard to figure that out. All right. What? Did I miss this? Oh, it's in the bottom. All right. Unless one of you has an idea of something I should be covering right now, I think I covered. I think I did everything I promised, and then some, and then some. Let me check out, make sure I didn't miss anything here. Check my backups. My backups. Do what I'm supposed to do. All right, good. All right, I'm good there. And I'm good here. Viola Pride. How are you, Viola? All right. I think I'm going to be... I think I'm going to be wrapping this up. I will be back here. I will not be here on Saturday nights. Just letting you know. Not going to be here Saturday night. Jewish holiday starts tomorrow evening. And that goes tomorrow evening through Saturday, all day Saturday, all night Saturday night, and all day Sunday. Ends sunset. 3 stars come out on Sunday evening. I expect to be doing my show Sunday evening, probably like around 11 p.m. or midnight. It's when I usually stream. It's going to be on Sunday, and that's when you'll see me next. But I'm not going to be here on Saturday night. This is the end of the whole holiday season. This is the last weekend for the holidays. And after this, I'll be back to my normal schedule. But I'm not going to be here on Saturday night. So I want to give you all the courtesy of that heads up. Don't bother looking for me on Saturday. I'm shutting down now. I don't know if I'm going to be with Eric Hunley tomorrow. As I mentioned earlier, when he was popping in here, I have a memorial for my mother, like a brunch that I'm hosting tomorrow. So I don't know if I'm going to be there for that. I'm going to see if I can pop in at the end, but it's looking doubtful. So you're probably not going to hear from me, except for maybe a post or two that I might throw up on locals, but you're not going to hear from me until Sunday night. So, Matt, I'm going to bed. Love what you're doing. Have a good night, chat. Thank you so much. I'm going to bed too. And I thank you all for joining me. I will see you all, God willing, on Sunday evening. Have a phenomenal weekend. And as always, Godspeed